Hi, I'm Emily Harper, 34, elementary teacher at Willow Elementary, and I genuinely thought my dad's old denim jacket was harmless until Karen Whitaker decided it was a threat to the entire neighborhood. My life in Willow Creek Estates used to feel like the American dream on paper. Quiet cul-de-sacs, perfectly trimmed hedges, Sunday barbecues that smelled like apple pie in conformity. I loved my classroom, the way my third graders' eyes lit up when we read together, weekend hikes with my sister Megan, and those careful Sunday dinners with Mom, where I never mentioned the stress that kept me up at night. But on June 12, 2024, at 10:45 p.m., everything snapped in my own driveway like a cheap HOA fine notice. There I was clutching a bag of recycling, forced on my knees on the concrete, while Karen Whitaker loomed over me, her manicured finger jabbing the air like it was a loaded weapon. All because the faded blue denim I'd worn 100 times had finally crossed her invisible line of community standards. What happened next peeled back the shiny veneer of our so-called peaceful suburb and exposed a scandal that made every neighbor whisper behind their perfectly painted shutters. My younger sister Megan, 29 and already climbing the ladder at Pinnacle Marketing, has always been my protector. Even though she's 4 years younger, her voice that night stayed ice calm while mine shook. "They can't keep doing this to you, Em," she said, her strategist brain already spinning revenge plots I couldn't even picture yet. Our mom, Linda, 62 with a heart condition, still believes I'm just the reliable daughter who brings her homemade lasagna. I've shielded her from the worst of Willow Creek's nonsense. Those endless violation letters, the passive-aggressive neighborhood Facebook rants, because one more stress could send her back to the hospital. What she doesn't know about Karen Whitaker won't break her heart. At least that's the lie I told myself for years. My best friend Alex, night shift nurse at Willow Memorial, has been my rock since we met at a school health fair 5 years ago. Alex was on the phone with me that night, the FaceTime screen turning my driveway into a live crime scene. I've always been the quiet one in Willow Creek, the teacher who stays late grading papers, the neighbor who waves politely and never complains about the ridiculous rules. My classroom runs like clockwork, orderly desks, predictable routines, safe space. The principal loves me, but never nominates me for anything flashy. Those awards go to the loud ones with Pinterest-perfect bulletin boards. The jacket was Dad's last gift before he passed in 2018. Genuine denim, once deep navy with brass buttons that caught the light just right. He'd said it framed my face like it was made for me. I've washed it 1,000 times since. The blue leached into this soft, pale shadow that still smelled faintly of his aftershave. The brass dulled, the seams frayed, but wearing it felt like carrying him with me on tough days. I never imagined it would become Karen Whitaker's personal obsession. The first violation hit March 5, 2022. I was walking our golden retriever in the jacket when Karen's golf cart rolled up like a sheriff in pastel cardigan. "Emily, dear," she cooed through her fake smile, "that faded rag is visible from the street." Section 4.2 of the Covenants clearly states, "No unsightly apparel that detracts from curb appeal." She handed me a crisp notice, $250 fine if not corrected within 7 days. I laughed it off. Mistake number one. The second came September 14th, 2023, right after a late parent-teacher conference. 2 HOA board members, Karen's loyal lapdogs, cornered me in the community parking lot. "What exactly are you doing wearing that thing in a family neighborhood at night?" They patted my shoulder like I was contagious, then slapped another notice on my windshield. "We're watching for anything that lowers property values by even 0.5%. I pointed out I was literally walking to my own house. They smiled sweetly and drove off. The third was April 2nd, 2024. A routine inspection drone, yes, they have drones now, flagged my jacket on my porch. 3 board members showed up at my door before sunrise. "License plate camera on the entrance gate caught you," one lied. I stood there in pajamas while they photographed the jacket hanging on the hook like it was evidence in a murder case. One actually apologized under his breath. The others just smirked and left me shaking. But June 12th was the night Karen Whitaker cross a line that no amount of bless your heart could uncross. I'd been prepping end-of-year evaluations at school and lost track of time. Stopped at the corner store for Megan's birthday wine, hurried home, and stepped in my driveway, still wearing the jacket. The neighborhood was dark except for those motion sensor lights that Karen insisted on for safety. I clutched my keys, recycling bag in the other hand, when her golf cart headlights flooded the space like a police raid. "Stop right there, Emily!" Her voice boomed through the little speaker she'd installed for enforcement. I froze. Karen emerged, clipboard in one hand, phone in the other, her pearl necklace gleaming under the street lamp. Everyone in Willow Creek knew to avoid her if possible. Close-cropped blonde hair, rigid posture, always looking for the next eyesore. "Turn around slowly," she commanded, like she was channeling a TV cop. I complied, heart already hammering. "What's in the bag?" she demanded, stepping closer. "Just recycling, Karen. And some wine for my sister." My voice sounded steadier than I felt. "Put it down. Now step away from the house." I took 3 steps back. "What is this about? Have I violated something again?" I asked, trying to keep it polite. She didn't answer. Her eyes narrowed on my jacket like it had personally insulted her prize roses. "Where did you get that thing?" she hissed, hand tightening on the clipboard. "It was my father's. A gift." Confusion mixed with fear. "Take it off. Right now." Her voice hardened. "The jacket. Remove it immediately, or I'll call the sheriff and have you cited for disorderly conduct and covenant violation." I slowly slipped it off, holding it out. That's when my phone rang in my pocket. Instinctively, I reached. Hands where I can see them. Karen shrieked, jabbing her finger like it was a gun. "It's just my phone," I said, voice cracking. "Drop the jacket and get on your knees, Emily. Now, show some respect for the bylaws." I dropped to my knees on the cold driveway, the jacket landing beside me. My phone kept ringing. Karen snatched it up. "Who's Alex?" she snapped, reading the screen. "My friend. A nurse." To my horror, she answered and hit speaker. "Emily, you still coming over to plan Megan's?" Alex's voice cut off. "This is Karen Whitaker, president of Willow Creek HOA. Your friend is being detained for a serious covenant violation." Silence. Then Alex. "Why? What has she done?" Karen smirked. "None of your concern. I'm ending this call." "Wait," Alex said. "At least let me see she's okay." Karen hesitated, then switched to FaceTime. Alex's face appeared, eyes widening at the sight of me on my knees. "What the hell, Emily? What is happening?" Alex's voice rose. "Karen, please. It's just an old jacket. I'm a teacher." Karen moved closer, her shadow swallowing me. "This faded blue matches colors associated with undesirable elements. You know that. The East Side Kings? In Chicago? Nothing like my soft gray blue. No, it's just my dad's. It faded from washing." "Save it," Karen snapped. I heard her thumb hovering over her phone like she was about to call the sheriff for real. My heart pounded. In my peripheral vision, the FaceTime kept rolling. "Please, Karen. It's just my work jacket." She swallowed my words with pure venom. "I'm tired of you people thinking you can disrespect the standards we worked so hard to maintain. Always the same excuse. It's just old." In that moment, on my knees under her glare, I vowed silently that Karen Whitaker would answer for every petty notice, every neighbor she'd bullied, every life she'd made smaller in the name of perfection. Alex's voice cut through loud and clear. "Karen, why is she on her knees? She's unarmed. I'm recording this entire call." Something flickered in Karen's eyes, awareness that the world was watching. Her finger lowered. "This is HOA business," she said toward the phone, but her voice sounded suddenly hollow. "I'm calling the sheriff right now." Alex fired back. "This is wrong." Karen's jaw tightened. She finally stepped back, tossed the jacket at me like trash. "Get up. Consider this your final warning. We're cracking down on anything that signals decline, and that jacket," she gestured with disgust, "could get you mistaken for someone who doesn't belong here." I stood on shaky legs, clutching Dad's jacket to my chest. "Am I free to go?" "Go," she spat. already climbing back into her golf cart. And get new wardrobe. Only when her taillights vanished did I breathe. Only then did the tears come. Alex's face on the screen was pale with fury. I recorded everything, Emily. Every single word. I nodded, throat too tight to speak. I'm coming to get you. Don't move. I waited in my locked car until Alex's Subaru pulled up. I collapsed into the seat, still holding the jacket like a shield. She could have ruined you, Alex whispered. Over a jacket. But she didn't, I replied, a strange calm settling as shock turned into something harder, something ready. And now we have proof. Most people in Willow Creek would be shocked by what I did next. The quiet teacher who never made waves turned out to have secrets of her own. Nobody knew that in 2021 I'd started Bright Minds, LLC, an online tutoring platform for AP students. It began small, just me after hours, but within 2 years I managed 20 remote tutors and pulled in $75,000 extra a year. Every penny invested or saved. Mom thought I lived on my teacher's salary. Megan thought my budgeting was just smart. Neither knew about the $200,000 sitting quietly in bonds and high-yield accounts. Money that meant I didn't have to be afraid anymore. I'm also more tech-savvy than anyone expect from a third-grade teacher. I once recovered deleted security footage after a package theft. The police were impressed. If only Karen knew what I could do with a simple USB drive. The morning after the driveway incident, I called in sick for the first time in 3 years. Then I got to work. First, I secured Alex's recording, downloaded copies to 3 secure clouds, timestamped 10:45 p.m. June 12th. 12 minutes of crystal clear humiliation. Karen's face, her finger jabbing, me on my knees, every condescending word captured forever. Next, I researched Karen Whitaker. Public records, old neighborhood forums, even archived Facebook posts showed 6 formal complaints against her in the last 3 years. All dismissed. 2 involved extortion-level fines on elderly residents. 1 specifically called out targeted harassment of single women. None had stuck because Karen controlled the board. I called a lawyer, not the nice family one who did Mom's will, but Morrison & Associates, the firm famous for crushing abusive HOAs. They agreed to meet June 15th after I emailed the video. What I needed now was access to internal HOA records, those private emails, the violation logs, the enforcement notes Karen kept like trophies. That would be trickier. I made a list of every board member I'd ever nodded at politely. Mrs. Elena Ramirez, the quiet vice president in her mid-40s, always looked tired when Karen spoke. Something in her eyes said she knew exactly how toxic the president had become. I found Elena's personal email through an old community directory and sent a vague message about improving educator board relations. She replied the same day, suggesting coffee outside Willow Creek and Neutral Cafe. Elena arrived in civilian clothes, jeans, and a simple blouse, but I still recognized the board member posture, back straight, eyes scanning every exit. Harper, she said, shaking my hand. How can the HOA better support local teachers? I took the calculated risk. Instead of small talk, I slid my phone across the table, video cued. Elena pressed play. I watched her face as the driveway scene unfolded. Karen's voice demanding I kneel, the jacket, the threats. When it ended, she placed the phone down slowly and met my eyes. What do you want? She asked, voice neutral but her hands trembling slightly. Justice, I said simply. Accountability, those are dangerous words around here. So was that finger my face? She nodded, considering. Karen's up for President of the Year at the annual gala, August 5th. Big ceremony at the clubhouse. Media from the local paper, even a blogger who covers HOA scandals. A lot of eyes. I understood what she wasn't saying. Very unfortunate timing if something like this surfaced. Extremely unfortunate, she agreed, a tiny spark of satisfaction crossing her face. Especially if other evidence appeared, dashcam-style footage from the community security cameras, internal emails. Those are stored on the HOA server for 90 days. She sipped her coffee. And if someone accidentally forwarded them, through proper channels. You don't seem like someone who causes trouble, Emily. I'm not. But I'm also not someone who stays on her knees forever. Respect flickered in her eyes. Karen's been protected by people above my pay grade for too long. She stood, leaving her cup half full. I can't help you directly. But if evidence happened to appear, I wouldn't be surprised. Thank you, Elena. She nodded once. We never met. 3 days later, an unmarked envelope slid through my mail slot. No return address. Inside, a USB drive with 2 files, security cam footage from the neighborhood gate showing Karen's golf car parked suspiciously close to my driveway that night, and an audio clip of her calling the sheriff's non-emergency line right after she left me. The dispatcher's voice. Ma'am, you said she was on her knees? Karen, exactly. Refusing to comply with covenants. This could tank our property values. The timeline matched Alex's video perfectly. The final piece arrived a week later, another plain envelope. Printouts of internal HOA emails. One from Karen dated March 1st, 2024. Be advised, members wearing faded blue denim or any worn apparel will be considered in violation of Section 4.2. All such items grounds for immediate stop, fine, and possible lien. Target discreetly to maintain standards. My blood ran cold. She'd been planning this. My meeting with Morrison & Associates was electric. They took the case on contingency the second they saw the strength of the evidence. We prepared a civil suit against Karen personally and the HOA board for harassment, emotional distress, and abuse of power, but we held it in abeyance, waiting for the perfect stage. That stage would be August 5th at the Willow Creek Annual Gala and Awards Night. In the weeks leading up, I played the perfect neighbor. Finished the school year, smiled at block parties, attended Sunday dinners with Mom without a word about the storm brewing. I met Megan for coffee and dodged her questions about why I seemed different. Only Alex knew the full plan. We rehearsed every angle, prepared backups, even practiced what I'd say when the lights came on. I transferred $50,000 to a legal fund account, updated my will just in case, and drafted a press statement. The night before the gala, I laid out my clothes, modest navy dress, conservative heels, the kind of outfit no one would suspect could topple a tyrant. Folded carefully beside them, Dad's faded denim jacket. The clubhouse ballroom sparkled with fairy lights and 4 smiles. Round tables draped in white, centerpieces of perfect white roses, Karen's favorite. A stage at the front held the HOA banner and a podium with a golden gavel she loved to bang. I arrived early, ticket bought through a fake donation from Bright Minds, LLC. Media clustered near the side. Local paper, HOA Watch blogger, even a drone for aerial shots. I spotted Elena in her board blazer near the bar. Our eyes met for half a second, no sign of recognition. At my table sat 2 retired couples and a city councilman who barely glanced at me after pleasantries, assuming I was someone's plus one. The ceremony began at 7 sharp. The MC welcomed everyone, droned about service and sacrifice to property values, and started handing out awards. I texted Alex, already in position near the AV booth. Systems ready, came the reply. At precisely 7:40, according to the program, Karen would receive President of the Year. The MC cleared his throat. And now, the woman who has elevated Willow Creek to the gold standard of suburban living, Karen stood, chest puffed, smiling like a pageant queen. That's when every screen in the ballroom switched at once. The video began. Alex's FaceTime recording, crystal clear and damning. Karen's voice filled the room. Get on your knees and show some respect for the bylaws. Me on the concrete, jacket beside me. The audio played every word. This faded blue matches undesirable elements. Save it. The safety click sound effect of her thumb on the phone calling the sheriff. The ballroom went dead silent. All eyes swung from the screens to Karen, frozen at the podium, then back as the footage continued. After 30 seconds, the image switched to the community security cam angle, Karen's golf cart, her finger jabbing, me kneeling. Then the audio of her calling the sheriff played loud. She's refusing to comply. This could tank our property values. Finally, Karen's own email appeared on every screen in giant font. All faded blue denim grounds for immediate stop, fine, and possible lien. Target discreetly. The screens went black. I stood up from my table and walked slowly down the center aisle. Dad's faded denim jacket, now fully visible on my shoulders. Every eye followed me. "That woman on her knees in the video is me," I said, voice steady in the stunned silence. "My name is Emily Harper. I'm a third-grade teacher. This is my father's jacket." Karen's face drained of color. "This is doctored. It's fake," she sputtered, looking wildly for support. From across the room, Elena Ramirez stepped forward. "I've seen worse from you, Karen," she said clearly, voice carrying. "This is real." Cameras flashed. Reporters surged. The board chair looked like he'd swallowed his gavel. "Harper," a blogger shouted. "Are you filing charges?" I had rehearsed this moment 100 times. I filed a $2 million civil suit against Karen Whitaker personally and the Willow Creek HOA for harassment, emotional distress, and abuse of power. Not for money, for accountability. No one should ever be forced to kneel in their own driveway over a faded jacket. The ballroom erupted. Questions flew, phones recorded, Karen being hustled off the stage by her own board members while her President of the Year plaque sat forgotten on the podium. Through the chaos, I stood calm in the aisle, Dad's jacket like armor. My phone buzzed. "Megan, you did it, Em. Mom, are you okay? The news is showing you." Alex from the AV booth. "Phase 2 ready when you are." Phase 2 was the press conference on the clubhouse steps immediately after. Morrison and Associates had tipped off every outlet. There I told the full story, not just the driveway, but every violation every neighbor Karen had bullied into silence, the system that protected tyrants in pastel cardigans. As I walked out flanked by my attorney and Alex, Elena caught my elbow. "That was beautifully executed," she whispered. "But be careful. Women like Karen don't fall without trying to drag everyone down." "I'm counting on it," I replied. The aftermath moved faster than any HOA fine ever had. By midnight, the story trended nationally. Faded jacket revenge and HOA Karen exposed, exploding across platforms. By morning, the local paper's headline screamed, "HOA President Humiliated at Own Awards Gala." By noon, the board issued a statement. "Karen Whitaker has resigned effective immediately. An independent investigation has been launched." But resignation wasn't enough. The civil suit rolled forward with new evidence daily as other residents, finally brave, came forward with their own stories. The elderly couple fined into foreclosure for a slightly tall rosebush. The single mom cited for unsightly kids' bikes. The district attorney opened a criminal probe for misuse of authority. My phone rang nonstop. Journalists, activists, even other HOAs asking for training on how not to become the next Willow Creek. Willow Elementary released a statement of support. My principal called personally. "Your job is safe. We're proud of you." The hardest conversation was with Mom. I sat at her kitchen table and explained everything. The jacket, the kneeling, the secret business, the $200,000 I'd hidden so she'd never worry. She listened, hand pressed her chest. "You could have lost the house," she whispered when I finished. "But I didn't," I said, taking her hand. "And now Karen can't do this to anyone else." Her eyes searched mine. "Your father would be proud." Terrified, but proud. Megan was pure fire. "This is gold, Em. You're a real-life superhero." Hardly, I laughed. "Just someone tired of kneeling." "Your timing is perfect," she said, marketing brain already whirring. "You should start a foundation." That casual suggestion took root. Within weeks, the Faded Jacket Alliance was born, a nonprofit supporting victims of abusive HOAs, fighting unfair covenants, helping residents push back against tyrants like Karen. Initial funding came from my savings. Donations flooded in as the story spread. Bright Minds LLC exploded too. Parents wanted the teacher from a news. I hired more tutors, tripled revenue to $225,000. The civil suit settled out of court for $1.8 million, most directed straight to the alliance. The HOA agreed to sweeping reforms: independent oversight board, transparent violation appeals, no more target discreetly emails. Elena was elected the new president by a landslide. Criminal charges against Karen were pending, but her life had already imploded. Her husband filed for divorce. No other HOA would touch her. Last I heard, she was selling essential oils from a rented apartment 2 towns over, still posting passive-aggressive rants about ungrateful neighbors. Mom's health improved dramatically once the constant low-level dread lifted. Megan got promoted to vice president, partly thanks to the viral campaign she built around my story. As for me, I returned to Willow Elementary, that fall more confident than ever. My students didn't know the details. They were too young, but they noticed the change. The quiet MS. Harper, who always said yes, had been replaced by someone who spoke up, who taught not just math and reading, but courage and standing tall. On December 2nd, almost 6 months after that driveway nightmare, the Faded Jacket Alliance awarded its first $100,000 grant to a family fighting an HOA foreclosure over a single faded flag. The ceremony was small, held in the community library, but the energy felt huge. I wore Dad's jacket as I presented the check. "A faded jacket can't erase your dignity," I told the room. "If you're ever forced to kneel by fear, stand up with your truth, because justice begins the moment we refuse to stay down." The applause wasn't really for me. It was for every neighbor who'd ever been made small by clipboard-wielding Karens, every family buried under absurd rules, every person who finally found the courage to push back. Later that night, alone in my quiet house, I hung the jacket carefully in the closet. The faded blue looked almost luminous in the lamplight, transformed from a simple garment into a symbol, a promise, a beginning. Because the best revenge isn't destruction. It's reconstruction, building something stronger from the ashes of what tried to break you. And as I turned out the light, I knew this was only the first chapter. Not just for me, but for every resident still living under the thumb of their own neighborhood tyrant, wearing their own version of a faded jacket, refusing to kneel any longer. The whispers started the very next morning. Mrs. Alvarez from 3 houses down, the one who'd been fined for her slightly crooked mailbox, stopped me on my walk with a shy smile. "I saw the video. I never knew thank you." Mr. Patel, whose prize roses had been declared too tall last spring, actually waved with both hands instead of the usual nervous nod. Even the teenagers who usually blasted music from their cars gave me respectful chin lifts like I was some kind of legend. Willow Creek Estates still looked picture perfect on the surface. Manicured lawns, identical shutters, the same HOA sign gleaming at the entrance, but underneath something had shifted. The fear was gone. In its place was a quiet, simmering defiance that Karen Whitaker's ghost could never touch. I started getting emails from strangers across the country. A woman in Texas whose HOA banned her solar panels because they weren't aesthetically pleasing. A retiree in Florida fined daily for a bird feeder that attracted undesirables. Each story echoed mine. Polite on the surface, vicious underneath, all justified in the name of protecting property values. I answered every single one. The Faded Jacket Alliance grew faster than I could have imagined. Website, legal hotline, even a simple app that let residents scan their covenants and see which rules have been successfully challenged elsewhere. Donations poured in. A national news segment called it the little jacket that started a revolution. Karen tried one last pathetic comeback. She created a burner Facebook account and posted a long rant titled, "The Real Story Behind the So-Called HOA Scandal." It claimed the video was AI generated, that I was a disgruntled former resident with an agenda, that the entire thing was a leftist plot against traditional neighborhood values. The post lasted exactly 47 minutes before the comment section turned into a roast. Former neighbors she'd bullied piled on with screenshots of their own violation notices. Someone even posted the original email chain where she'd ordered the discreet targeting. The account was suspended by lunchtime. Last sighting of Karen. She was spotted at a big box store 2 counties over, wearing a bright new jacket. Ironic, really, while selling essential oils from a folding table. The perfect ending for a woman who once thought she could police other people's wardrobes into oblivion. Mom and I started a new tradition. Every Sunday dinner now includes a toast to Dad. We lift our glasses and say, "To faded jackets and standing tall." Megan turned the whole saga into a marketing masterclass. She even pitched a documentary series to a streaming network. Think Real Housewives, but with actual consequences and way better karma, she joked. The network bit. Filming starts next month. At school, my students surprised me with a class project. They'd heard bits and pieces, kids talk, and decided to make courage jackets. Little denim patches they decorated with drawings of superheroes and the words "Stand Up." They presented them to me in a ceremony that ended with every third grader promising never to let anyone make them kneel for something silly. I wore one of those patches on Dad's jacket the next day. It felt like the circle was complete. The best part? The HOA board, under Elena's leadership, passed a new bylaw. No resident shall be subjected to public humiliation or demands to kneel for any covenant matter. It passed unanimously. Elena winked at me during the vote. Small victories, but they add up. I still walk the neighborhood every evening. The jacket is lighter now, not because the fabric changed, but because the weight of fear is gone. Neighbors stop me not to complain, but to share their own small rebellions. The guy who finally planted the wrong color flowers, the mom who left her kids' bikes out overnight without apology. Each story is a tiny crack in the perfect facade, letting real life breathe. And every time I see that faded blue in my closet, I remember the night I refused to stay down. I remember the look on Karen's face when the screens lit up and her empire of nonsense collapsed in front of the entire community she claimed to love. I remember that justice doesn't always arrive with sirens and handcuffs. Sometimes it arrives wearing the same jacket that started the war, and it smiles while the tyrant is forced to kneel in the spotlight she once hogged. The suburbs still look peaceful. The lawns are still perfect. But now, when the HOA sign at the entrance catches the light, it doesn't say "Welcome to Willow Creek Estates." To those of us who lived through it, it reads like a warning. Don't mess with the quiet ones. We've got receipts, recordings, and the best kind of revenge, the kind that builds something better instead of burning everything down. Because that's the thing about faded jackets and power-hungry Karens. They think they're protecting paradise when they're really just guarding their own little thrones. They mistake politeness for weakness, patience for surrender, and a simple piece of denim for a declaration of war. They never see the quiet teacher saving every extra dollar, recording every insult, waiting for the exact moment when the spotlight turns their way. I still teach. I still hike with Megan. I still cook Sunday dinners for Mom. But now I do it all wearing the jacket whenever I feel like it. Faded, frayed, and absolutely untouchable. And every time a new resident moves in and asks why the neighborhood Facebook group is suddenly full of people sharing their own victory stories instead of complaining about each other, I just smile and say, we had a little HOA incident once. Turns out kneeling isn't mandatory after all. The Faded Jacket Alliance now has chapters in 12 states. We've helped reverse over 300 unfair fines. We've rewritten covenants that once read like medieval edicts. And every grant we give out comes with a small denim patch that says "Refuse to kneel." Kids wear them on backpacks. Adults pin them to jackets. Faded or brand new, doesn't matter. The symbol travels farther than Karen's golf cart ever did. Last month, a reporter asked me if I had any regrets. I thought about the night on my knees, the fear, the moment I almost stayed silent forever. Then I looked at Dad's jacket hanging in my closet like a trophy and answered honestly, only one, that I waited so long to stand up. Because here's the truth no HOA president wants you to hear. The suburbs aren't peaceful because the rules are perfect. They're peaceful because most of us choose not to fight. But when one person finally does, when one faded jacket becomes the hill worth dying on, everything changes. The Karens lose their clipboards. The neighbors find their voices. And the quiet ones? We stop being quiet. So if you live in a neighborhood with too many rules and not enough common sense, if your HOA president sends you a violation notice for something as ridiculous as a jacket your dad gave you, remember this story. Save the evidence. Find your Alex. Quietly build your case. And when the annual gala comes around and they hand out their shiny awards, make sure you're wearing the one thing they try to ban. Because the best revenge isn't loud. It's wearing the faded jacket they hated, walking down the aisle they thought they owned, and watching their entire empire of nonsense crumble under the bright lights they once controlled. And then, you build something better. You help others stand up. You turn the symbol of their shame into everyone else's strength. That's not just justice. That's the kind of karma that makes even the most power-hungry Karen whisper, "Maybe I went too far." Me? I just smile, adjust dad jacket, and keep walking. The neighborhood is still beautiful. But now it's beautiful because it's free, not because it's afraid. And that, more than any award or settlement, is the real victory. The end, or really, just the beginning for every neighbor still waiting for their moment to stop kneeling.